Ever been around somebody who has to control everything, like every task, every conversation, every decision, every outcome? The kind of person where if it's not their way, it becomes a problem. They get short with you, they blow up or they storm off. It doesn't matter how small it is. If they're not in control, then they shut it down. They don't know how to relax. They don't know how to just let people be. Always on edge, anxious when things don't go how they pictured, right? Frustrated when people don't follow their lead. Snapping at shit that shouldn't even bother them. Maybe I'm describing you. And if so, here's a hard pill to swallow. You're difficult to deal with. You're pushing people and respect away. And it doesn't matter how many good things you try to do to outweigh that damage, the controlling nature of your personality shines much louder than your good intentions. People don't feel your heart, they feel your grip. But let me tell you something, underneath all that, you're scared. You're subconsciously scared of what might happen if you stop managing everything. Let's get something straight. Control is not about power. Control is about fear. Fear of failure, fear of looking stupid, fear of getting hurt again, fear of being abandoned, forgotten, judged, rejected. Most controlling people aren't villains. They're people who got hurt and they decided that the only way to feel safe was to manage everything. And if that's you, then this is your mirror. And if you're the one being controlled, I'm going to explain how you stop letting someone else run your life. Look, controlling people don't always yell. They don't always slam the doors or bark orders. Sometimes control is quiet. It's like needing to double check everything. It's getting angry when people don't do it your way. It's fixing people who didn't ask to be fixed. I'm definitely guilty of that one. Another thing is it's guilt tripping. It's saying shit like, well, I guess I'll just do it myself. Or it's fine, don't worry about it. Or picking fights over details just to feel control of something. And other times it's even more subtle than that. Like the parent who shames your choices unless it was their idea, right? Or the spouse who always needs the last word. Or the boss who hovers over everything that you do and then thinks that they're a good leader, right? They think that that's leadership. I used to have one of those. That dude was wild, right? That dude would disappear for hours every day. And he definitely wasn't doing work related shit. But then he'd follow his subordinates around, like not openly, mind you. He'd watch them from a distance. He'd pull up on them and just sit, just to make sure people were doing what they said they were. And nobody even knew that they were being watched. And, that's what control looks like sometimes. Granted, I think that he was doing that out of guilt for what he was doing on his own. Since he felt guilty for doing whatever he was doing, he wanted to make sure nobody else was doing anything, below board like he was. That's my personal opinion. But anyway, that's what control looks like sometimes, right? It's not yelling, it's not conflict, but it still creates tension. It still creates pressure. Like everything has to be managed. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be predictable. But here's the truth. Those types of people are not leading. They're not helping. They're just trying to stay in control because the second that they lose it, they don't know who they are. And if you're being honest, you're the same way. You don't feel safe unless you're the one calling the shots. You don't know how to relax unless like everything is in order. You don't know how to let people just be because deep down you're scared of what's going to happen if you stop managing everything. And this is one of those subconscious patterns that you're probably not thinking about directly, but your behavior tells the truth, right? Your nervous system's been running the same script for years. Control everything or risk feeling powerless again. You ain't got to say it because your actions already say it. Most controlling people don't even realize it's what they're doing. They're not trying to be overbearing. They're trying to subconsciously feel safe, right? Control is a survival pattern. when something traumatic happens, whether that's chaos at home, emotional abandonment, or even growing up in a house where everything was supposed to be perfect, your nervous system adapts, right? It says, if I can control everything around me, I won't get hurt again. And so now you don't just want control, you need it. So you overthink, you micromanage, you avoid vulnerability, you try to stay ahead of every problem. And and if you think about it, none of that is really logical, right? But we're not talking about logic. We're talking about neurological wiring. So your body still thinks that you're protecting yourself even though there's no danger anymore, but the pattern still stayed. And here's the trap. The more that you try to control, the less you actually trust in other people, in life, in yourself. And until you become conscious of it, you're just going to keep saying, well, that's just how I am. Or if I want it done right, I got to do it myself. But the truth is that's called a fear loop, right? It's a control loop. And every time you give into it, you reinforce the belief that you're only safe if you're in charge of everything. Now, let's flip it. Do you ever feel like you're walking on eggshells? You ever like second guess yourself before you speak up? You ever felt drained after every conversation that you have with somebody? Those are examples of actually being controlled. And it don't just happen in relationships, right? It can happen at work with a boss who micromanages you. It can happen with your parents who keep bringing up the shit that they've done for you just to keep you feeling guilty and obligated. Or it can be friends who make you feel like you have to earn their approval. Like one wrong move and then you're just out of the circle. And the fucked up part is, just like the controlling person is doing it to feel safe, you're tolerating it to feel safe too. You over explain yourself just to avoid conflict. You bite your tongue just to keep the peace, and you keep it all in because you think it's easier than dealing with their reaction. But I hate to break it to you, that ain't maturity. That ain't respect. That's you trying to manage somebody else's emotions while ignoring your own. And whether you're the one doing the controlling or the one adjusting to keep the peace, control comes with a cost. And ironically, it costs you the one thing that you're trying to protect: your peace. It ruins relationships, it kills trust, it breeds insecurity, and it keeps you stuck in that same cycle, just frustrated, tense, and resentful. Control might get compliance, but it's never going to build real connection. People might follow your lead, but it's only out of fear. They're not inspired. They're just trying to stay out of the way. And so they stop giving real input. They stop being honest with you. And they do the bare minimum just to avoid conflict. And whether you realize it or not, you created that. You created an environment where people can't relax, where everything has to be done your way. And if it's not, your lack of emotional intelligence shines through. Because when you inevitably blow up or storm out or shut down the room, that's not leadership. That's control. And it's costing you way more than you think. Now, if you're the one who has to control everything, here's how you start to break it. Step one, you got to name it. You got to ask yourself, where in my life am I trying to manage everything? Is it work? Is it parenting? Is it your relationship? Step two, you got to identify the fear that's behind it. What's the worst thing that would happen if you stopped trying to control it, right? Really think about it. You think people would disappoint you? Would something fall apart? Would you feel helpless again? Like for most people, control is not about what's happening right now. It's about something that's already happened. That moment that you got blamed for something that wasn't your fault. Or, that time that your needs were ignored. Or that season where everything just felt out of control. And so you decided that you were never going to feel like that again. And I learned this from Dr. Joe Dispenza. When something like that happens, your brain takes a snapshot. Definitely of the event that happened, but more than that, how it felt. The fear, the helplessness, the shame. And every time you get close to feeling that way again, your nervous system fires off the same old alarm, right? Even if it's decades later, even if the danger's not even there anymore. You know this is true for yourself when you can think about an event that happened a decade or 2 decades ago, and you still get emotional about the event that took place years ago, but it's still controlling you. You still feel as though you were living that event again. But that's how people end up controlling everything around them, because their body remembers what it felt like when they didn't have control. And most of the time, your brain's just running on an old like fear script, and you're reacting to something that already ended. Step 3, you got to build trust in yourself. You don't need to be in control of everything when you trust yourself to handle anything. You've spent so long trying to manage every detail, anticipate every outcome, and fix everything before it breaks that you don't even trust yourself to respond. To rebuild that trust, you're going to have to start small. You're going to have to make a decision without overthinking. You're going to have to delegate something without hovering over the person that you're delegating it to. Let somebody do it their way without having to correct them all the time. Let a situation play out and don't rush in to fix it. And yeah, your nervous system is going to freak out. Chest is going to get tight, jaw's going to get tense, your mind's going to start racing, because you've trained your body to believe that control equals safety. So the second that you loosen your grip, your brain's going to start going crazy, setting off alarms. But you have to understand that ain't danger. There's no lion chasing you. That's just your conditioning. And so you need to remind yourself, I'm not in danger. I'm just uncomfortable. And the more that you trust yourself to respond, the less you need to control everything in advance. And the more that you release control, the calmer your nervous system becomes. And the calmer your nervous system becomes, the less you need to control in the first place. And that is how real leadership is built. Not through force, not through micromanaging, not through being a tyrant pain in the ass, but self-trust. And if you've been controlled for too long, here's how you break free. Number 1, you got to stop apologizing for existing. You're probably used to over-explaining everything, second-guessing yourself, downplaying how you feel, doing whatever it takes to keep the other person comfortable, even though it's killing you. So no, this isn't just as simple as just speak up, because you've been conditioned to keep the peace even when it costs you your own needs or identity. But here's where it starts. You got to stop justifying everything. Say what you need to say and leave it there. You got to say no without giving a full explanation. Stop explaining yourself to people who never consider how they make you feel in the first place. And when somebody pushes back, which they will, hold your ground. If they get uncomfortable, let them. You don't have to yell. You don't have to argue, but you also don't have to stay quiet anymore either. And again, yes, your nervous system is going to fight you on this because you've trained it to believe that silence equals safety. But it's not safety. It's survival mode. So when the anxiety picks up, just pause, take a deep breath, widen your gaze, and remind yourself you're not doing anything wrong. You're honoring yourself. You don't have to flip your whole life overnight. You just have to stop sacrificing yourself just to keep somebody else calm. Their lack of emotional intelligence is not your responsibility. Okay? That's how it starts. Now, this week, pay attention. Where are you over controlling? Or who do you shrink around? What fear are you still letting run your life? And then remind yourself, you don't get your power back by clenching harder. You get it back by letting go. Now, if this hits something in you, good. That means you're ready. The full Identity series is live. Watch it now and start rewiring the patterns that have been running in your life. If you're ready to break control loops for good, mindset, structure, standards. That's what I teach. Let's build that version of you that doesn't just look in control, right? But finally feels free. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget, make good choices, and I'll see you on the next one.